say these truthful statements and it goes through the filter
Yeah.
of the now, dude. And I don't know if it's the algorithm, I don't know what it is, but it gets politicized. And so that's my problem with it. It's like, guys, hey, red state brothers and sisters, like I don't know what to call them because
Yeah.
they're still citizens, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know what to
They
call
are,
them.
yeah.
They're still, I mean, dude, it's like it's they live in a different world in their state. There should be
Same with blue states.
same with
too.
blue states,
Yeah.
right? Like they don't understand why we want a lot of gun control, but I do understand why they need less gun control in their states. If you live in like a rural town and your
Mhm.
nearest neighbor is like 5 miles away, it's taking the cops 45 minutes to an hour to get to your
Mhm.
house, right? I understand where you're coming from to want to own your guns. I get it,
Sure.
and I'm not trying to encroach on that at all. But when we live in the towards the inner cities where like you're packed together and
Mhm.
there's way too many people that close together that already don't like each other, you want to give them guns, right? It's like, yeah, we need a little bit of for us in our cities, we need a little bit of that control.
Yeah.
So it's like the problem we've had is we've become too divisive and everything's being politicized, in my point, where we can't have these common sense conversations of like, hey man, do we really need to spend 14 trillion, whatever trillion dollars on our security? Hey man, if as a country we say, yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
But as long as we can communicate about it, right?
The masses can
the,
communicate.
the
Yeah.
masses can
Right.
together,
Exactly.
not through their political leaders that all they
Exactly.
do is sideswipe questions. But it's like, hey man, do we agree on this? Because look, I don't think we do. But if the whole of the United States agrees, which I don't think that they do,
Mhm.
right? Because their position might be something like we want smaller government, we want more states to control their money and where it goes. Hey man, that's a fair point.
In the last 50 years, I think both political parties, Democrats and Republicans, have intentionally pried on people's political identities to
Yes.
divide us.
Yeah.
What they've done is actually, I mean, it's very, I think, unethical, but from their standpoint, it's a very smart thing to do because they made political identity a central part of someone's identity.
Yes.
Yes.
Like
And
being
yes.
conservative is like that is so important to me. Being
Yes.
liberal is so important to me.
And
Once you do
yes.
that, you can't have a nuanced conversation
Cannot.
because you're attacking the person's identity.
Yeah.
If I'm telling you to cut taxes, that becomes a conservative issue,
Yeah.
right? It's we're not looking at policy from a objective point of view. Everything becomes subjective.
Yeah.
And so the reality itself then becomes like
Us versus them.
malleable
mentality.
because
Yeah.
you can change it and
Oh, yeah.
adjust it
Oh, I see what
based
you're
on
saying, yeah.
whatever point you want to, come across.
It's almost like the biggest cult in the world.
Yes.
It's almost like it.
It's no, it is. It is.
It pretty much is.
It is. Not pretty much. It is. Because and it's also there's exacerbated, but it's just like herd. It's like in group out group mentality, right? Which we know
Mhm.
humans have. So you look at sports teams have a similar kind of behavior. Oh, you're a part of you like them. You like the Celtics, and you live in LA. Oh, you're the worst kind of person.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
there's these rivalries, and essentially what we've done is we've turned this into a rivalry where I never thought that it needed to go there. And what else exacerbates it? Did you know about this part?
What?
Did you guys know that foreign agents, and again, someone's got to fact check this. This is millennial brain, so this might be just conspiracy theories. But what I think is true is foreign states, like I think Russia did this in the 2016 elections,
Mhm.
start showing one side one thing to start hating
Oh,
the
yeah,
other
yeah.
side, shows the other side
Yep.
stuff about the right,
Yeah.
so they start hating each other,
Yeah.
and they help drive that wedge even further,
Right.
right? And when you-
Disinformation.
disinformation
Yep.
Mhm.
campaigns, and all they have to do is sit back and wait.
Mhm.
All they have to do is sit back and wait, because what you get is you get two groups that want to like hurt each other.
Yeah.
Where it's like, dude, all we're talking about is admin. A government
Yeah.
is just admin. Think about that. We're fighting with each other about administration. It's like that's crazy. Like you're willing to kill for that ideology.
Yeah.
But the other side is
Yeah.
too. Both
Right,
sides are.
both are, yeah.
And it's like, let's not forget, we're just talking about administration of a state. Like we're not talking about anything more than that.
Right.
You know? But then they're like at each other's fucking throats. And I think that's crazy.
And then the question begets, right? Like, who is for? I mean, who's what's the who's facilitating this? Why is it facilitated that one side is being fed only this information? Like if I'm on Instagram
Yeah.
and I'm only seeing conservative thing, I don't see anything liberal. It's like
Yeah.
they're doing this.
That's
right?
the algorithm.
That's
right?
the algorithm.
And this is
Yeah.
the funny thing, and this is a theory of mine, and I don't know if I can prove it, but what they want is engagement. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
They don't care if it's positive or negative engagement.
Exactly.
Right. So
Mhm.
when are you most likely to engage in and talk about something?
Something
When it's
that's
a-
outrageous. Something's
Something's outrageous. Something that's
Yeah.
against your point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're like, wow, what the fuck? No, I'm gonna fucking say something about this.
Yeah.
You know.
Hmm.
But when you see like, oh, that's a pretty cat, I'm not gonna.
You just like it.
I
You
like
don't
it.
comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they want engagement, what they're going to show you is the thing you hate, right? Based on what you've seen. So I think the way the algorithm works now is it's going to show people, like you put a stand-up clip on, there's going to show the people that fucking hate stand-up, and especially your kind of stand-up. Because those are the people that are going to comment, this is stupid, this is...
So I guess when you hate comments.
Have you noticed? Have you noticed?
I
You
thought it was
barely
just me.
positive
I'm
comments.
just having
No.
like a.
It's
intro-
rare getting
It's rare.
positive comments when
My
you don't
friends,
have any.
yeah, my friends give
Yeah.
me positive comments.
Yeah.
Right.
But once it goes past a certain 1,000 views, it's like, who's this bald guy thinks he's fucking cool?
Right.
Fuck this guy.
Right.
You know, it's like, your mom's a fucking lip tart. It's like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
Why are you being so mean? Because, and this
People are
is a
so
theory.
mean online, man.
Yeah.
People are so mean.
Are they, or are we just being fed the stuff that triggers
To the
each
wrong
other, to the
people.
wrong people?
Mm.
And I think they do that with political stuff.
It's the perfect clusterfuck.
Yeah.
It's the perfect clusterfuck. It's
Mm.
like an algorithm that's feeding into natural human nature
Yeah.
to hate on people, right?
I think going back to your point about foreign countries, though, they've discovered that they can't really militarily compete against our country.
Nope.
Some countries can, like Russia and China, but America is still stronger and
Russia
more powerful.
with China can.
With
Right.
China. Yeah, I don't think
That's my point. Is they realize that America is militarily dominant, but they realize the biggest weakness is the division inside our country.
the stupidity
And
of
so
the people.
They've discovered if we have to bring America to its knees, we're going to do it internally.
Yes.
And that's why China and Russia wage these wars every election, these
Yep.
disinformation campaigns,
I agree.
because they know how to get us more divided. But
Absolutely.
honestly, though, Vivek Ramaswamy made this point as he was traveling across America, and I'm not. This is not in support of his campaign or whatnot, but he's made a point that I agree with. If you go to like different cities across America, we're not as divided as we seem. We can
No.
have a conversation.
100%.
Once we start talking about politics, is when we get so divisive.
Or
Like
we
if you
get-
remove that aspect, we're
know
not.
what?
I would say defensive. I wouldn't say divisive. I feel like a lot
We
of
get
people
defensive.
we get
Okay.
defensive of our. It's like, dude, I know so many people that supported Trump in the 2016 elections that they didn't even talk about it. They didn't. They were like
Yeah.
silently withheld that stuff. They lived in LA at the time, and they just held that in like close to their chest, you know. And it's like, dude, do you feel like you can't even support someone?
Right.
And first of all, there's a reason why we go into a little booth that's like a confessional booth where nobody watches us,
Yeah.
and we just put a little thing in. We don't have to explain ourselves. We don't have to talk about why we did what we did.
Mhm.
It's a little like a confessional booth, and it should stay that way.
Mm.
Talking about it like, oh, you did what? You did with that used to be bad etiquette to talk politics with
Right.
friends. Because
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
that used to be bad etiquette. Like that's
Bad?
not that's
Wow.
Politics
not
and religion.
yeah, politics and religion you do not discuss at the table, like when you're around people or with friends, you know. And so for me, it's like we've lost that. We've lost that. It's like, dude, fucking a lot of people voted for Reagan twice
Mhm.
at a landslide elections. You're like, okay, so what? We're just not gonna be friends because you voted for Mondale. Does anyone even remember
Walter
Mondale? Yeah,
Mondale.
does even remember that guy? I don't even know if that's the right guy. To be honest,
He was the
with you.
vice presidential candidate.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
I don't even know who that is. You know what I mean? But I'm saying,
believe so,
I don't
yeah.
even know who the main guy is. Is my point? Maybe it was Jimmy Carter the first time.
Yeah,
don't even
Reagan
know-
beat Jimmy Carter the first time.
Yeah, and I don't remember who the second
Yeah.
one was.
The second time I forgot. I don't know
Exactly.
either. Yeah.
But he won by a landslide. I remember that. I wasn't there, but I mean, I was there, but I wasn't there. You know.
Mm.
But sorry, the point I'm trying to make is like, it's a lot of like, I have to protect my values because I
Mhm.
feel like it's attack from you. But if people understand, like, I don't think someone in like Ohio is trying to attack my values.
is right.
right? It's like, hey man, we can have a conversation about this. You could. Here's the thing, bro. You can be right, and I can be right,
In your own way, yeah, 100%.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's like we're talking about opinions.
Yeah.
Fucking everyone can be right.
That's how this bipartisan poly was started, right? Not, I mean, neither is wrong or neither is right.
Yeah.
It's just that's the way it goes.
Yeah. And it's
ridiculous.
turned vitriolic. It's turned
Yeah.
like, and there's no voice. Like I don't have a voice to my conservative,
Yeah.
counterparts, and say, hey man, I know what you want and what your needs are.
Yeah.
I respect that. This is how I feel because
Right.
I live over here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have different issues here. I respect what you're doing. I respect that you want to pay. Why are you wanting to pay for taxes that you talk about? We're never seeing it in
Yeah.
California. Imagine some rural cat who's paying all these taxes and he doesn't see a fucking dime.
Crazy.
Doesn't see a dime of that being done for him.
It's crazy.
It's a different world for these people that everyone has turned a blind eye to.
Yep.
And what do you get when you've been you feel like you've been the victim and like unheard, and you're told you're dumb, you're a hick, you're this, you're
Aggression,
You
that.
start
violence.
hating, bro.
You
Yeah.
start hating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's why when they try to assassinate Trump yesterday, it's like it doesn't matter if you assassinate Trump. Trump's a symptom.
Yeah.
You know what
He's
I
a
mean?
figure. It's an ideology.
It's an
of your fight.
ideology.
Yeah.
It's the anger
Yeah.
that they're voting for.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you don't understand that, like, that's
Another ballgame.
that's why we're at where we're at. It's
Yeah.
because you left aren't willing to meet this halfway, so they're gonna take control over whatever they can.
By the way, side note, you were right. It was Walter Mondale.
It was
in
Walter Mondale?
1984. He was.
How did I
he
know
was
that?
the former vice president though, so that's why I got confused.
Dude, I
But
have
yeah.
those moments where I have these facts stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Like I've never read about this ever. you know?
Really?
I
You
was
just
just
know?
like, it was just
Walter
in there
Mondale?
somewhere. It was just in there.
You
for
just had a
some
dream,
reason.
Walter Mondale.
Yeah, no,
versus
it's just
Reagan.
I just had the name stuck in my head, like Walter Mondale.
The year-
It's Reagan the second time, and it was a landslide.
1984. That's
19,
right.
Yeah, and I was born in 1984,
Yeah.
so it doesn't even make sense because I wasn't even there.
The human brain.
The human brain is so dumb. It's so dumb.
dumb.
It's so dumb. It has all this information that it doesn't know how to like compartmentalize.
Maybe your mom was watching NBC
it
News
could have been
right the whole
You know?
time. She was pregnant.
It's like, oh, in like fucking 40 years, my son's gonna be on a podcast, and this is gonna be kind of like a tangential point he's gonna make, but it's gonna be there.
Supplemental.
Supplemental
information.
point, yeah.
Every time you said Mondale, you kicked when your
Yeah.
mom was pregnant. You're like,
Mondale. That was my first word.
What?
Mondale.
Oh, man.
Mondale. Oh,
I-
my son remembers.
I think I like that people care about politics more,
Yeah.
but I think we should do it in a civil way. And I
Yeah.
think because so many people care about politics more, there's also a lot more ignorance
Yes.
where people selectively care about specific things.
Yeah.
Right? They're not looking at things holistically.
Yeah.
They're also being selfish in their politics. How is this going to best benefit my family? Which they have the prerogative to.
Absolutely.
Which have the prerogative too, but
Yeah.
I think we should vote also thinking about what's best for the country and the world as a whole.
But here's
right?
the funny thing, bro. The founding fathers, for all their
Mhm.
faults, put in place a system that thinks about that.
Mm.
States have certain rights.
Mhm.
States have certain laws they can pass, and you have the federal government to look over the whole. Now, however you slice it and dice it, who gets how much power? I mean, I'm not even trying to get to that point. I'm just being like a generic 1,000-foot view,
Yeah.
or 10,000-mile high view of like that's the general system. You have
Mhm.
state power, and then you have government power, and they share some things. Government does some things, states do some things.
Mm.
So they had that in mind.
Yeah.
They had that in mind
Yeah.
that like someone here is going to have different needs than in New York. We have the system in place. The problem is, I think human nature is we're tuned too much to be reactionary to fearful things,
Okay.
right? Like we're just evolutionary speaking, like the cat the caveman who heard something in the bushes and said, "Fuck this, I'm gonna run because I'm scared," tended to survive.
Yeah.
The other person was like, "It's probably the wind." Got eaten more often than not.
Yeah.
So you
Natural
you
selection,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So natural selection over time, the trait that's been rewarded for humans is fear. So what gets
Hmm.
people motivated? Fear, right? If you're scared you're going to be homeless in 2 years, you're going to do everything you can to
Mhm.
not be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you think everyone's coming to take your guns away, and your eventual fear is the government's going to become a fascist system, right?
You're gonna go the opposite. Yeah.
You're going to go the opposite way. You're like, no, you're not touching my guns. I'm going to vote for politicians that are going to stand up to that, and they're going to
Yeah.
make smaller government, and that's the pattern we've been seeing. It's like yeah, that's all I would say.
No, yeah, I'm piggybacking off of that like 1,000-mile like view, looking down that bird's eye view. If you talk to anybody, right? I don't know if you're conservative, liberal, whatever you are, you talk to the opposite party. If you go into the nuances of things, most people agree. Most people think we're being gouged, right? Most people think we're being price gouged. Most
Yeah.
people think taxes are too much. Most people think we're putting too much money into overseas wars,
Yeah.
right? So it's like we agree on almost everything.
So many things.
On almost everything. It's just how do we get there? Now you look at that 1,000-mile view, and it's like, okay, which party is the good guy or bad? That's how people are viewing it.
That's
good
the
guy or bad
problem.
guy.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's like,
the problem.
why can't we talk about the policy and now talk about how you think the best way to get to this side?